class.
Hello, guys.
Welcome to the RV newbie classes. We are on class number 2 where we are talking all about the budget. This is very, very important because whether you are a full-time RVer or a part-time RVer, you have to get a good idea of how much RVing is going to cost you. Now, what we have done is we have created materials so you can follow along with us. There will be a link. Make sure you download the course materials because this is way too much to just remember, right? We all only have so much room in our brains for mental sticky notes, and my brain gets really windy. They fly away.
Just so you guys know, Mercedes has basically been working on this thing all week. These classes are free. It's our way of giving back to the community. Because we've been RVing for 2 years, first a disclosure, we are not professional RVers, obviously. All we do is we share our experience. We're blessed to have the platform that all you have given us, and this is our way of giving back. Now, because we have so much experience with YouTube and the RV life, we've been able to chat with thousands and thousands of people. So we've heard of different experiences of great people loving it and people making a big mistake because they didn't think it through all the way. This class number 2, is about your budget. And so Mercedes has prepared quite a document. Make sure you download that to help you and your family decide exactly what you can afford to do. And, is this realistic for you? One of the things that we get a kick out of is we'll do a budget video. There's thousands of budget videos out there by YouTubers. And people judge someone's budget.
Yes.
But there is no perfect budget. Right? There's the budget that's right for you and your family. Mercedes and I, it's the smartest thing we did in the beginning was we really had an open discussion about we wanted to try this, but we built a spreadsheet and we wanted to see if we could afford to do it. And so this is actually the best part we did. And so in this video, we're just going to talk to you guys about
in super detail.
Super detail. But we're going to kind of move through pretty quick because she went deep.
All right. And I'm going to contradict what he said because we are professionals. We are professional mistake makers. And that is what qualifies us here to help you not make those mistakes. We're not going to tell you what to do and what not to do. We are going to ask you the hard, difficult questions that you need to answer for yourself for your individual circumstances. So let's get started in the download. The first section talks about the RV lies. And the first RV lie, we're going to go quick here, is that full-time RVing is, well, that part-time RVing, I got it wrong. That part-time RVing is cheaper than full-time RVing. And that's not necessarily the case. And here's why. Because sometimes when you are a part-time RVer, let's say you're only doing a 2-week RV trip, you hit it harder. You go out to eat more often. You spend more money on excursions. You travel further distances because you're trying so hard to jam-pack so much into such a shorter amount of time. So I would argue that sometimes full-time RVing can be cheaper because when it becomes your day-to-day life, you're not trying to visit the Grand Canyon every day of the week. And so I would argue that full-time RVing is actually cheaper than part-time RVing, not the opposite, because you're doing regular day-to-day stuff, the laundry, the cooking, the cleaning. It's not vacation or party mode. All right, you ready for the second lie?
Second line. Okay, hold on. Second lie.
The second lie when it comes to RV budgets is that boondocking is the cheapest way to RV. Now, for those of you that are new, boondocking is basically when you RV without hookups. And it is typically cheaper because you don't have to pay an RV park for electric and so forth. But sometimes it can actually be more expensive. For example, if you are going to be boondocking a while and you've got all these toys and you're bringing all this extra fuel and you're bringing all these things so that you can have creature comforts without hookups, those accessories can get really costly really fast.
Right. Solar, batteries, all the additional things, fuel for your generators, So within this budget, we're going to show you guys, hopefully in the spreadsheet, you'll be able to really dig in and know exactly how you want to do it. The cheapest way to RV is by mooch docking. Get the RV, and I don't know how your family's going to feel about this or your friends, but it's basically sucking off of somebody as you move spots and you plug into their house, and then typically if they don't have a dump station, you will have to go and dump.
Yeah. And even then, if you are going to be mooch docking at families, Are you going to be paying them a little to compensate them for the utilities?
You should be.
You know, either way, it's going to cost you. So don't assume that discomfort equals discount. The next lie, and this is one that you see a lot of videos on YouTube about, is that RVing costs $1,000 a month. Now, you can make a lot of choices such that RVing does only cost you $1,000 a month.
You can do it.
However, this is probably meaning that you're not going to have access to a shower on the daily, probably meaning that you are going to have to endure a little bit more extremes of temperature. You're probably going to be camping on free lands, which, you know, it depends on where you're traveling, how long. There is a lot of sacrifice involved when it comes to RVing on the cheap.
Right, and no judgment. There are people that want to live this way, off grid.
Yes.
Right, on low budgets, and
Yes.
they're happy like that, and we don't judge it.
No.
They like being on free land. They like being secluded.
Yes.
They don't have need the creature comforts that a lot of us do. And so again, it's not a judgment. It's just you really want to figure into your budget what's going to make your lifestyle the most comfortable for you.
Yep. And now we're going to talk about 3 unexpected costs. The first one, which was really unexpected, was laundry. And here's why. Now, we're going to go into the whole budget as we go on, but I just wanted to bring up some really compelling things that you wouldn't have thought of first. So why is laundry so expensive? Because you are either investing in a washer and dryer for the RV,
Which are expensive.
or you are going to be going to the laundromat. Now, here's something about the laundromat that you may not know. Hey, honey. That you may not know is that sometimes the laundromat is all quarters. Sometimes they accept cards. Sometimes you have to buy a $5 card in order to use that laundry machine. So laundry gets really expensive really fast. And I would say that we spend at least $10 a week on laundry, which I did not expect. And when you compare that to the cost when we had the 2-in-1, because our 2-in-1 Splendid broke, that cost us how much? About $1,200?
About $1,200 and $400 for the install.
Yeah. So when you consider the price of that versus the laundromat and the fact that it lasted less than 2 years, it really it would have been cheaper going through the laundromat.
Yeah, and you'll also notice laundry prices at laundry centers, whether it's a campground or wherever, are going to range. There's a range. We've gone to parks where it's $3 or $4 a load. So It really depends on where you're going to go. Some of these higher end resorts are really going to get you for the laundry.
Exactly. All right. So next, let's talk about the next unexpected cost, which was propane. And here's why. So I did not realize early on, we didn't realize that when you are on RV Park Power, you should be doing everything on electric. You should be maximizing that electric hookup, right?
Yep.
Some people go so far as to not cook with propane, so they won't use their propane burners. They won't use the oven. They will have an electrical contingency such as a Ninja or a griddle, right? But propane can get really expensive really fast, especially in winter months.
Yeah, these units, guys, are not insulated very well. They're making them better and better. The technology's getting better, but most of these are not insulated well. You will burn through propane if you're using propane to heat your RV in cold temperatures. And so it's just a cost. We ran out in our first 3 weeks of RVing as we headed north, and we learned a valuable lesson. If you're gonna stay and pay at an RV park or resort, and your electricity is included, use the electricity. Go out and get some space heaters, or some type of something that's going to help you keep the place warm without using your propane.
Because ultimately, you have to have diversity of energy, a diversity of fuel. You cannot completely rely on having hookups all the time because park power goes down. And you cannot always rely on the propane, as our friends learned in Texas when there was a shortage.
Yes.
So you have to have redundancy on everything. All right, the next one, RV parks. Now, we have an RV park membership with Thousand Trails, and we love that membership, and we use it a lot. But guess what? In 2020, when we had to be stationary due to unexpected, surprise, you got to stay put for a while, not just because of, everything that happened.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
I know. I can't say the
You can't say the words because then, the video will be suppressed.
But we also had personal health things that we weren't expecting. So all of a sudden we had to stay stationary, and we were not able to maximize our 1,000 Trails membership by moving, right? So when this happened, all of a sudden we went from spending about, I don't know, $200 or $300 a month on RV parks to spending sometimes like $1,100, and the super busy months it goes up to $2,000 in season. So that was a big difference that we weren't expecting. Ultimately, that year we ended up spending over $16,000 on RV parks.
Yeah, and
which is crazy.
RV, the best, hands down, the cheapest way to RV full time, if you want full time hookups, is the 1,000 Trails and Encore that they offer. We purchased that. If you use it, it is worth every penny. If you don't use it, it's not worth it, guys.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the RV park memberships like 1,000 Trails, the people that buy it and don't use it actually help pay for us using it all the time.
Yeah, kind of like insurance, right?
It's kind of just like that. So the ones that really do use RV park, 1,000 Trails, they're going to be the one who benefit the most. Passport America, every RVer has to have this, even if because of the 50% off discount. It's usually 1 or 2 nights, but we have a whole video on that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that very soon. So the next thing, real quick, are 3 things that you don't want to go on the cheap. So close out of that and put into this, please.
This, hold on. I'm learning.
No, go to
this one.
please.
Okay.
Nope,
I'm just doing what you're telling me.
I understand that. Okay, so 3 things that you don't want to buy on the cheap. The first of which that you really, really do not want to skimp on is the safety equipment. This is really, really important that you value your safety, especially as far as like monitoring your tires, your chocks and your blocks. You know the RV will roll if you don't have those things.
Yeah.
It is on wheels. So don't skimp on the safety equipment.
Right. TST, tire pressure monitoring system is very, very important. Safety vests. We have a whole list in our Amazon store, guys.
The next thing that you really want to make sure that you do not skimp on is going to be insurance. And just because you're part-time, I've just put a link in the chat, just because you're part-time doesn't mean that you can go cheap on the insurance, because what happens if your 3-week vacation suddenly comes to an abrupt halt? Are you going to be compensated for the cost of a hotel or finding somewhere else to stay when you're in the middle of your trip? And then when it comes to full-time insurance, you really have to make sure, if you are a full-time RVer, that you are covered as a full-time RVer.
Yeah, most full-time RVers lie, because there's a lot of insurance companies that will not insure full-time RVers. And so in the first year and a half of our travels, we were not insured. We paid our insurance, but had we ever had a claim, they wouldn't have done it.
Yep.
And so once we found out the truth about RV insurance, Mercedes and I hooked up with a company called Charlotte Insurance. Marty Carricker, great guy. And right now at this point, we're almost up to 150 RV Odd Squad members that buy insurance through rvoddsquadinsurance.com.
We get group rates, guys.
We get group rates now that are better, or at least compete with Good Sam. So we're growing our group, and the bigger our group gets, the RV Odd Squad, bigger discounts we're going to get, because we're together as a group.
Mm-hmm. And the final thing that you really don't want to skimp on when it comes to your RV and these costs is going to be tires. And the reason that tires are so important is that literally and figuratively, everything is resting on those tires. And you cannot always guarantee that the tires that came on, from the manufacturer are ideal. It's also really important along those lines that you drive according to those tires. Just because your truck can pull the RV at 80 miles an hour really nice and smooth doesn't mean that the tires are rated for that speed. So very, very important. Don't cut corners in these areas. There's a lot of other areas that you can cut corners, but don't cut corners when it comes to your safety, when it comes to your insurance, and when it comes to your tires. All right.
Next,
we're going to talk about the startup costs. And in the actual download, which I hope you guys are downloading, we've included a lot of links already. So in the PDF version, if you save it on your computer, we actually have the whole video dedicated just to startup costs. And you can click on the download to see that video. But what we wanted to do to make this a little bit more impactful, Vinny, thank you so much.
Wow, Vinny, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
what we wanted to do to help you more is that when we did that initial startup video, we were about 8 months, a year, a little less than a year into RVing.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about knowing what we know now, what we would have done different in our startup costs. We're not going to go line item by line item into every single minute detail because we want this to be a fun class.
Right.
But we're just going to talk about wholesale categories and the lessons we learned.
And real quick, if you guys have questions, we will be answering questions at the end of this presentation. Yes. Please put all your questions in caps so it'll be easier for us to find them because the chat can get kind of busy.
It does, which is a great thing.
And then here, the Bueller bunch. I love this because the insurance companies actually want you to lie.
Well,
I think so. They really want you to lie because they'll take your payment every month.
Yeah.
But when it comes time for you to make a claim, they'll look for any reason not to pay you. So don't lie to the insurance company. Tell them your true intentions and what you really do. And I would suggest you get an insurance agent who really knows about RV insurance. And Marty
and Clark.
Marty and Clark over at Charlotte Insurance. We're becoming the best at this.
Yeah. All right. So let's go into the categories. The first one that we want to talk about is your storage or your home. So basically, this does apply more to the full-timers or maybe to this long-term seasonal RVers. But to what extent do you plan on downsizing? And if you are going to go full-time, are you selling your primary residence? And another big caveat is that you really need to think about the timing. Do you need to sell your house to buy the RV? Careful with that. The RVs depreciate, the house depreciates. So be very careful in the decisions that you're making, right?
Well, and also, if you're going to sell your house, you need time to make the transition from the house into the RV.
Exactly.
So really think about that. And knowing what we know now, we would suggest people probably keep their home.
If you can.
If you can, and rent it out. There's Airbnb, right? Because in the first year, you don't know if you're going to like it or not. We find that about 25% of people that literally sell everything and move into the RV full-time lifestyle love their lives like we do. We love the RV full-time life.
Mm-hmm. But there are a few that don't.
There's a few that don't. There's a few that didn't do the work that we're showing you guys today, and they fell flat in their faces, and it breaks our hearts when we see it. We've met people that go through this stuff, guys.
So the next piece is going to be the RV, which again, John touched on, giving yourself enough time to move from the house to the RV. But if you're, let's say you're not going full time, you're just going to be a weekend warrior, an avid RVer type, you still need to ask yourself important questions. Are you financing the RV or are you buying it outright in cash?
How much can you afford?
Exactly. And are you going to buy a used RV or a new RV? A big lesson, knowing what we know now, is that we didn't know what we wanted in the floor plan, and we had all these ideas in our brain about floor plan. And then once you use it, then you learn kind of what you want. So as much as John is a germaphobe, I almost think that a used RV as a first-time purchase for total newbies like we are is a very good consideration, because then once you know what you're doing a little bit, then you can go and spend more money in the financing.
Yeah, and Jerry Duran, we'll make sure you get a call back immediately.
Yeah.
That is rare.
Yeah, don't worry.
We've had one complaint out of 150 people that have called there, so you might have fallen through the cracks, but don't worry, we're on it now.
Yeah. All right, so next, let's go into the tow vehicle. Now, for the tow vehicle, you have to. Can you scroll for me, please?
Oh, scroll. I'm sorry, guys. Remember, this is the second time we're doing this, so
we're getting better.
This will be a little bit better than last week.
We're getting better.
And by the time we finish over the next 6 months, it'll probably be great.
Yeah, then we'll really know.
We'll have to start over again.
So as far as the tow vehicle goes, this is going to be two options. If you have a motorhome, do you need a tow vehicle like to get groceries or to go out exploring? Because it's easy to think, I'll just take the motorhome everywhere I go.
Yeah.
That may not work.
It works for some people.
Well, if you're going to do longer trips, then you probably don't want to do that. But if you're a weekend warrior, a motorhome is probably fine because you're going to do more planning for groceries.
Right.
Whereas if you're going to be out for 2 months, every grocery trip in the motorhome,
you got to unhook all your hookups, your hoses, and drive to get a loaf of bread, right, or a gallon of milk. So a tow vehicle for us is we have to have it.
And then the next question you have to ask yourself is, if you do have the tow vehicle,
how
are you going to tow that vehicle? Are you going to 4 up, 2 up, the dolly? Because getting all of that situated is going to be costly. Getting the Jeep such that we could tow it was what, over $4,000.
It was $4,200.
But that's because we're YouTubers and we made a deal.
Right.
So
it can be even more expensive than that.
It will be.
So you need to have special brakes put on the tow vehicle. And I would highly, we did a video on this, guys, and what we see out there is a lot of people that decide to pull their tow vehicle on a trailer. It's really hard in some RV parks because you hardly have enough room for your two vehicles on some of these campgrounds than you do to have a whole trailer. And sometimes you'll have to store your trailer. We saw a couple of parks you had to store your trailer a half mile away. So
it's a big
down is the best way to do it if you can afford to do it that way.
And the next question, if you have a towable RV that you have to ask yourself is, do you already have a vehicle that can really tow that RV? That's really strong enough and designed to tow that kind of weight. And this is where so many people get into trouble with towables. They don't have a truck that can really pull that kind of weight.
Don't trust your salesman, guys. Do your own homework.
Yep.
Usually on the back of every Class C, Class A, you're going to see what the towability, the pounds it can pull. So make sure you double check that.
All right, next. Now, the big lesson here that we learned knowing what we know now, as far as the RV goes, you might want to consider a used one if you are going to be buying new. As far as the tow vehicle goes, we don't really have regrets in the vehicles that we've gotten, both the Jeep and the truck. But definitely, as far as the storage, one of the mistakes that I think I made was I thought I needed things that I didn't, but I didn't know what I really needed.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and then I took some things with me because they were so amazing. I had to have them, and then I ended up getting rid of them on the road instead of keeping them in storage. Yeah. So it's a process, but those are a couple of big lessons in that area. All right. Now let's talk about the RV park memberships.
You're funny. I jumped so far ahead of Mercedes. I already talked about this 2 frames ago, and she always gets mad at me because
I do, because I go through a lot of effort to make this sequential.
To keep it sequential in order, and I just shoot my mouth off. So I'm going to shut up and control the screen.
Why don't you sit down and learn? No, I'm kidding.
All right.
Okay, so RV park memberships. The first one that we absolutely love is Passport America, whether you're full-time or part-time. It's a no-brainer. However, you got to ask yourself an important question as far as what type of RVer are you? Are you going to be in RV parks a lot, or are you going to be more of the boondocking, freestyle kind of camping?
Public lands.
Exactly. So if you are more into boondocking and more kind of go with the flow, then definitely like Harvest Host, and we have all of our links in the downloads, is going to be a good consideration. If you need hookups, Thousand Trails is something you want to look at. No questions about it.
They don't have any competition, guys.
They really don't. They own the market. Because for full timers, it is hands down the most affordable way to ensure that you have hookups.
If you use it.
It's expensive. Yeah. It's a big...
Well, yes and no. I mean, we're at 2 years now. We've got it down to about $10 per night.
Well,
so it just depends on how much you use your membership.
Exactly. So...
and can I add one more thing?
Yes, you can.
The reason to have a Passport America, guys, is even if you think you're going to be on public lands, Passport America is a nice option. If you, let's say you go out in the middle of nowhere for 2 weeks, no bills, you got solar, you've got generators, whatever. Every now and then you're going to want to kind of stop in and refresh, right? Passport America is 50% off. You use it twice and it pays for its membership. You can dump your tanks, you can take a shower, lots of things to do there. Mm-hmm. So we think you have to have one.
Yeah, even if you are a boondocker, every now and then having a place to stop to refuel and dump.
And we got a link for that, guys. We get a few bucks off it if you buy it through our link. So please support us that way.
Yeah, and you don't pay any extra.
You don't pay any extra.
We're putting a lot of work for these classes, so that's how we ask that you support us.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yep.
All right, so the big lesson.
Move?
Yes. I'm going to go like this.
Just tap my hand and then I'll do.
The big lesson here is really if you can possibly practice RVing so you can figure out your style, that would be really good. You definitely want to use any membership that you purchase, and you don't know what you don't know until you try it. So practice makes perfect. And as far as the big Thousand Trails memberships go, those used memberships, even though now they have a new product that you can't get with the used membership, They are very, very compelling, and for the price point, we probably would have spent more time considering that, knowing what we know
Yeah,
now.
knowing what we know now, we would have bought a used membership, guys, because we'll probably never sell ours. And the only difference between a new membership and a repurchase membership is that with a repurchase, you won't be able to sell it. It's yours forever.
Yep.
If you buy it new, you'll be able to sell it once, but the next person who buys it won't be able to sell it. So just think about that.
Exactly. And we will get to questions at the end. Questions in caps. Thank you so much for doing that. Next, this is an area that we're going to talk about briefly, which is the safety gear. This was a startup cost before we even started RVing. The tire pressure monitoring system, the chocks, the leveling blocks, the safety kits, which we bought cones, and now knowing what we know now, we would have gone with the Hokina because it has the lights and it's more sturdy than the plastic cones.
It's my favorite toy.
It is. Walkie-talkie or backup camera. And here's why that's so important. You don't always have cell phone service. You can't always call each other on your cell phones to help each other backing up. And if you are like John and I, where you just admit where you're not going to partner well, you get the backup camera.
If you can afford it and you have a big rig, a backup camera is worth every penny. Since we've been RVing, we see 5 RVers crash into something because they don't have backup cameras. We very rarely hear of somebody crashing into something trying to park their RV that did have a camera.
Yep. All right.
Next.
Nope. Next. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yes. Next, the big lesson. Don't get the cones, get the Hokina, and we have our links to everything on the download. And definitely those walkie-talkies are amazing. But I think the big lesson here, we didn't do enough for propane safety. So the gas stop for the LP safety.
Yeah, the gas stop is a big deal because we actually had a leak once in our hoses. And so just take a look at that. We've done another video on that as well.
Yep. I know.
The most important piece of the safety equipment is try not to think so much about the cost. Think about, especially if you have your family with you, TPMS, monitor your tires. If you have a big rig, you have to check your tires. They measure the heat and they also measure the pressure constantly. 3 times our TST TPMS, tire pressure monitoring system, has saved our butts from getting in big trouble. So that's something that's very important for safety. Obviously a jack, make sure you have tire iron and all that stuff. Tire plug kit. Yep, we've used that one. So just that safety stuff, you got to have it.
All right. Now to the electrical. This is pretty ironic. Okay, so these are going to be your items like your surge protector, your generators, because you have to have redundancy, right? But ironically, when we started, we got a cable lock for the surge protector, which is a couple $100.
Yep.
We did not get a cable lock for the generator, which is $1,000. A little bit of a lesson there.
They took it off the back of the truck.
Yeah. So we because we had purchased so much stuff, initially one of the big mistakes we made was we kind of went cheap with our first surge protector, and then we upgraded. And now we use the Power Watchdog. It's from Hughes.
They're actually the #1 in surge protection now in the RV market, guys. Power Watchdogs is hands down the best.
Yep.
And so check that product out. Again, use our link, support us. That's how we make money here.
Exactly. So another big lesson that I would consider in electrical, you see, we bought 2 generators with the cord to pair because of our AC requirements. We have 2 ACs that are like ginormous, and they just need a lot of power.
50 amp.
But knowing what we know now, there are actual mechanisms like the soft start that you can use in your AC that makes it so that you can run your AC in low power.
Right, up to 20 amp.
We did not know this, so when we were mooch docking at Mom's, she thought we lived like miserable lives.
We got there last year. We got there last year, and it was 101 degrees in Denver for a week, guys, which is rare. But we couldn't use our ACs because we kept popping our power.
Yep.
Once we found the soft start, we got super, super excited about it.
Yep.
You don't need as much energy to run your ACs. We actually could plug into Mom's house now with a 20 amp circuit and run one of them. It won't run 2. It's also a little bit easy when it comes to running your generator.
Exactly.
We needed 2 generators to run both our ACs, a total of 50 amp, right? Now we just need 1 generator to run that, our backup power.
So that was a huge lesson on electrical.
Yep.
All right, now let's talk water and
Hey, let me
plumbing.
just say one more thing about electrical.
Okay.
The basics, guys. Different dog bones,
Oh,
right?
yes,
You're
yes.
gonna pull into different parks, and maybe you have a 50 amp or a 30 amp, but you pull in, and that site is not available. So make sure you have different dog bones. That all they are is converters from 20 amp to 30 amp to 30 amp to 50 amp, 50 amp to 30 amp. Just have all that stuff with you so that you can adapt no matter where you go.
Yep. Excellent. So next, let's talk water and plumbing. Obviously, the sewer hoses, different water hoses for drinking water, non-drinking water, hand sanitizer water treatments, elbow splitting fittings. John has talked a lot about how that little elbow like makes a world of difference in the panel.
Especially a clear elbow.
Yep. But water filter, and this actually ties to our biggest mistake. You see, we thought that at Camco, water filter was going to be sufficient, and they're basically taste filters.
You know those little blue filters, guys, that you plug into the hose that's permanent in your RV when you get park power.
Yep.
We had that, and we had an onboard Camco system. And after a year of RVing, and we did a video on this, and our tub turning different colors, our sink, the water tasting, not so good. We realized how dangerous some of the water in these RV parks are as you travel around the country. And as soon as we figured it out, we went ahead and we invested in a clean water system.
So I have the link to that in our download, but definitely don't be the filter, and you have to be able to filter water from 50 states of dirty water.
Right.
Because Texas dirty water is going to be different than Michigan dirty water.
Right. There's no perfect filtration system, and we found that the Clear Source, which is what we use for all water coming into our RV, is cleaned by our Clear Source down to 0.5 microns, which is really, really good. And then we also have a Berkey to clean that water for us and Sage to drink. And so we think it's important. If you can only afford one, go with the Berkey for water you're going to drink. But if you can afford two, it's probably the best way to go.
Yep. All right. Now, let's talk about the interior and kitchen design. And this is stuff, you know, maybe it's shelving, command hooks are your friend, because RVs don't really have ideal storage sometimes. And also like lights that you can put, because the lighting, sometimes they light certain areas very well and others not so much. Non-slip hangers, because the clothes will fall off the hangers. Collapsible kitchenware. Maybe even you either want like a Ninja or a Griddle, that electric contingency, so that you don't have to use your propane when you do have park power.
If you got park power, use it, guys.
Yep. But a big lesson that I would say here that, and the outdoor setup. I'm going to tie here and then go to the lesson.
Okay.
Go back, please.
Go back here.
You got, go back to kitchen.
Oh, you told me to move. You hit my leg twice. Okay.
Okay. So, big lesson on the kitchen that I made the mistake of was that John was buying all this stuff and he was having so much fun, and I wanted to buy all this stuff too. And a lot of what you already have in a kitchen, if you already have a fully functional kitchen, will work. A lot of it will work. So be very careful when you're searching on Amazon. Pick your moments where you're going to get the interior organization in the kitchen. Definitely the command hooks are no-brainers, but you can go down the rabbit hole as far as...
Because we did.
Yes.
We both got excited. It was Christmas every day when John and Mercedes decided to sell everything in RV full time.
Yep.
We had packages coming in from Amazon every single
so
day. It was
fun.
so exciting, and buying and buying and buying. Half the stuff we purchased, we've probably already given away.
Yep.
And so don't load up on things that you don't know. You're going to get used to your RV. It's going to take some time, and then you'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. So now let's talk about the outdoor setup. This is something that we probably leaned a little too heavy into too. I mean, clam tent and all this stuff. Really, I think you can go really far with very comfortable chairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do want a folding table, a
Lightweight,
grill, outdoor cooking. Those
Yep.
kinds of things are going to be.
You got to have a grill. If you're going to camp and RV and camp, then you definitely want to have a good grill.
Yep. All right. Next, let's talk about the medical. This is going to be more for the full-time and the seasonal. But are your medical checkups up to date? And how about the dog? Are the dog's checkups up to date?
It's true. You want to have all the paperwork from your dog with you in case you have cross a border. Some RV parks, ask for that information to let the dog stay. They wanted to see his paperwork, that he had his rabies shot and everything else that they need nowadays. Sage, you turn that down, honey.
I got it.
Got
All
it.
right, next.
And one more quick thing about medical, guys. And it's because we have a group now, the RV Odd Squad, that has RV insurance. We've been working on this project for about 3 months. Medical for full-time RVers has been a nightmare. It's a nightmare. But there are solutions, and we're actually working on a program that's going to get all of us discounts on health sharing. This is something we put a ton of time into. We're being very careful, doing a lot of research to make sure so that all of us can save money and hopefully have the same doctors.
Yep. All right. Next, internet. This can be really pricey because you have to not just have a way to boost your signal, but you really have to have a contingency provider, especially for those long trips. Yeah. So this is one that for us being full-time, it was non-negotiable. If we were just weekend warriors, we would probably, thank you, honey, be fine with just our phones. But really, because we're working full-time, that really changes things.
It does. And if you're going to work while you RV, you have to have redundancy, guys. And we're actually working on a video for this.
Yep.
You have to have redundancy. We have AT&T. We have Verizon. We have different amplifiers, cell phone boosters. We have different antennas. Every place is a little bit different. But if you're going to earn a living on the road while you travel, or you have a job that you can, that you are allowed to travel, you have to have the internet. When we did our first budget video, we said that we had spent around $500 a month on our internet. People thought we were insane. But what you don't realize is when we do a YouTube video, it takes gigs and gigs and gigs just to upload that video. It takes a ton of data to do live streams just like this. And so, you probably don't have to spend that kind of money, and the prices are still coming down, but make sure you have redundancy, especially if you need to earn a living on the road. And of course, most people want to stream, and to stream, it takes data.
Yep. All right. A couple of things like the maintenance, slide sealant, WD-40, silicone fuses, bungees. That's a big thing for startup costs that people don't consider.
I overdid it with tools.
Oh, well, you already were overdoing it with tools. You already had a lot of tools, to be fair.
I did. I try to save a lot of my tools. I just brought we did a video on that, and I had too many tools. My tools have been cut in half since we started full-time RVing now. I'm getting used to it.
Yep. All right.
This is a big one, guys.
The mail, and we had a question that I saw in the chat that talked about this, and we're going to do a video on this because we found out the hard way, especially for full-time and seasonal. This is more for the long-term RVers, but you can't necessarily use a mail service provider's address as a domicile. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't, and we learned the hard way on that. So a couple questions to ask yourself is, are you a stationary RVer? Are you just going down to one RV in one park for 6 months when the weather is suitable? That experience is going to be very different on what you pay for mail and don't. But if you're constantly moving like us, you really do need a mail service provider. Do you need a domicile? Are you keeping your sticks and bricks? Or are you getting another, or are you not having a sticks and bricks home?
You're going to want to pick a state where your domicile is going to be. And we picked Florida because we had already lived here. And there's no state tax in Florida on income.
Yep. And, the other piece, if you are going to do that, finding a domicile with a family member, do you have family that you can trust? And to make sure that you do have a domicile address, because some banks will not accept the mail service.
And this is a big deal, guys. We haven't seen a video, but we're working on a video for this as well.
Because we got burned.
Banks do not like full-time RVers. They're not RV friendly, guys. And the banks are starting to figure out which domicile service or mail service is really not a home address. And so it's hurt us on our credit. It's hurt us when we try to get loans. And so we highly suggest, knowing what we know now after 2 years, took us 18 months to figure this out, for your banking, your credit cards, have a family member that you can use that address. Try not to use a domicile address, because when we started, all the banks accepted it. Now they don't.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's go to the next page real quick.
Okay.
Let's see. All right.
Big lesson.
That's what you just covered.
Okay.
All right. So stop right there for me, please. So now let's talk about monthly expenses. But first, let's take a quick break. Sage needs some jerky. But can you put that down?
This here?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're going through a lot, guys. and I understand that just the startup costs alone, it's like, oh my goodness, we haven't even started RVing. How much are we spending? But that's what we want to illustrate here. We want to ask you the hard questions so that you can make those decisions about what you really need, what you don't. You might have a lot of safety stuff that you need. You might not. You might need to invest in it. And this is why the budget is so important.
It's so important, guys. You know, like we said, we've got a lot of experience and have contact with thousands and thousands of other RVs because of the YouTube platform.
Yep.
But and some people in the comments will call us negative. And we're not negative. We're just being honest. We share the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've shared with you openly that we love the RV full-time lifestyle. We wouldn't change a thing. We're not thinking of an exit strategy. We're going to continue going. Mm-hmm. But we want to just arm you with the facts so that you don't turn around in a year and say that we were one of those channels that made it sound like all rainbows and butterflies, mm-hmm. and you didn't do the proper homework and fell on your face.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now let's talk about the monthly expenses.
Okay, so I got to go back here.
Yep.
And then slide up.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is a lot. This is a lot. And I really hope that you downloaded the worksheet because we talk about the numbers, and I have another special treat. So in the past, I'm not sure if you were aware of this, but in the past, we had a budget that you could just type in your numbers and get your RV budget that way. Well, through this video, we've actually been working to make that budget even better. And so using our experience from now more than 2 years and everything that's happened, the stationary RVing, the non-stationary RVing, the using a motorhome, the using a towable,
right?
Like we are using that experience now to get a 2-year budget.
Right.
And so I'm going to go over the monthly expenses. And there's kind of, at the end, something I really didn't expect that I found in the monthly expenses.
And we're going to kind of breeze through this, guys. We're not going to hit every one of these. It would take us all day if we did that.
It would. But I want to start with the first three, the auto loan, the RV loan, and RV memberships. So these three categories can be financed. And this is really a big fork in the road. If you finance the RV, if you finance the vehicle, this is going to really impact how much you spend. The bottom line here is that you either need to have income coming in or you need to have a lot of savings.
Right.
And so these areas are probably some of the places, the spots where you can make the biggest dramatic impact on your monthly budget if you pay for these things outright.
Right. Obviously, living the RV lifestyle with no debt is the ideal way to do this. Mm-hmm. We erased all of our debt, but we did take a loan on our RV. And what else did we do? We took a loan on the RV and we took a loan on the truck.
Yeah.
But remember, we run a YouTube channel, so a lot of that is written off, guys. We get to write that off, all that interest, which is why we decided to go that way.
Yeah. Well, actually, 50% you have to account for.
Yeah, we still live in it.
Yeah. But so these are areas that are ginormous, and this is where I see some people have the difference between like a $3,000 monthly budget and a $7,000 monthly budget is just in the financing, just in those three areas. All right. The next big piece, state and national park passes. One of the questions I saw is, do you recommend state parks, national parks? Absolutely. They are so much fun. And remember, it's all about redundancy. You can't just rely on Thousand Trails. You should be exploring national parks. You should be state parks, especially in a state where you're going to spend some time in. Like, for example, we got a state park pass for Florida because we've been in Florida so long. One for Nebraska probably wouldn't make sense because we just drove through that state in like one day, right? So pick your moments. But if you know you're going to spend some time in a state that has good state parks.
Yeah, Florida has beautiful state parks.
Beautiful state parks.
Colorado has beautiful state parks, but super expensive to RV there. It's going to cost you $50-$60 a night to camp in a Colorado state park.
Mm-hmm. Now, the next section is going to be RV parks. So even if you have a Thousand Trails membership that's supposed to, help your RV parks expense stay low, it's not necessarily guaranteed. So unfortunately, you still have to have
redundancy.
And we found ourselves in certain areas where there were no Thousand Trails having to pay full boat for RV parks, and it was like, oh my gosh, I missed out some trails. Let's stay in that area, never deviate from that area.
Right, and there's big gaps. If you look at a map of the United States with 1,000 trails, there's big gaps on the 5 zones that they offer. So the Passport America always filled in the holes. The RPI always filled in the holes. Right, having a national park pass. National park passes are interesting, guys, because if you have anything more than typically 27 or 28 feet, you're not going to be able to drive it in there. Yep. So with our rig, we had to go in Yosemite and the other national parks we visited. We've had to drive in with the truck. Yeah. And we haven't been able to pull the rig in there. So something to seriously consider when you're thinking about which RV you want for this type of lifestyle. You want to keep it under 27 or 28. Each state's a little bit, each park's a little bit different. That's very tricky. And it depends what kind of RVer you are, right? Right. So the next piece, internet solution. And you'll notice here that I have a number 1 and a number 2. If you need to work on the road and you need to be connected. Don't just rely on Verizon. Don't just rely on AT&T. Yeah. Don't just rely on T-Mobile. You better make friends with 2 of the 3 big ones. That's I think the safest thing to do. That's if you want complete freedom, guys. We don't want to be held in one place by, okay, we can't visit this part of the country because Verizon is the only cell system that we have or data system that we have. Yep. So if you do have one internet solution, you better do your homework on the front end and look out and see if that park or that area of the country, there's lots of apps that will tell you that. Look at reviews. They'll tell you if Sprint works, AT&T, Verizon, all of them. There's maps. Do your homework. Yes. All right. So now I'm going to talk about these next three kind of lumped. The gas or fuel, diesel, the tolls, and the auto and RV insurance. Mm-hmm. So the fuel prices vary so much on 2 things. The first of which is, where are you traveling? Are you in a state that tends to have exaggerated fuel prices? Blue. The second is, how often are you traveling? Are you traveling fast? For example, when we did the, California to Florida in 5 days, that was a lot of money on gas. I think we spent $300-400 on gas a day. Spent a lot more than that. It was a lot. It was a lot of money on fuel. But at the time, it only cost us $100 to fill. Now that costs us $200. So, it's going to depend on how often you travel. And where you're traveling. And where you're at. Right. Because in our first year, Mississippi had the lowest gas price of $1.89 a gallon. By the time in 6 months we got out to California, it was over $5 a gallon. I can't imagine where it's going now. Yep. And then the tolls, most of them are pretty good at just mailing you the tolls. We have learned to have strategic tolls. So we have the iPass, which covers a whole bunch of states. We have the Florida Sun Pass. And then we have the E470 for Colorado. Yeah. But there are other states. So this is going to depend on, are you in a state like Kansas has its own toll, but we were able to pay that in cash? Yes. Tolls are going to be a big one. Just look out ahead where you're traveling and then find out if there's a toll pass. It'll save you a ton of money, guys. Mm-hmm. And then obviously the insurance. Don't skimp on the RV auto insurance. Corners. You'll be so upset that you did. You will. You really will. All right. So the next item is the excursions, the exploring, the fun. How often do you want to go out to eat? Even going to see some things. Oh no, you got a spider. Even going to see some things like in state parks, sometimes there's like a $6 nominal fee to go explore a canyon. Right. So you are going to want to allocate for that. Right. We've been in helicopters. We've been in Jeep tours. The helicopter was really expensive, right? That was right, but it's a once in a lifetime thing. So again, this is one of those things you guys have to figure out yourself. Exactly. You can spend a lot, but for us, when we go into Yosemite, we're gonna any excursion we have, because we have the YouTube channel. We love to share our experience with you guys. So mainly, we did the helicopter ride. Mainly, we were like, the RV Art Squad would love those shots. We've never done that. We'd never done it, and we wanted to share it with you guys. So that's what we did. So the next one is going to be RV maintenance and repairs. You are going to want to have a steady contingency. Well, and you're going to want to have certain supplies on hand to keep everything running as well as possible. Fuses, which ironically, I just bought fuses, and
it was cheaper to just get the fuses I needed than to buy the big kit.
Right, that has all kinds of fuses, but only about a quarter of them actually work in your RV.
Exactly.
So just have basic backup stuff. You know,
you'll be so happy. The next category is for propane, generator, other fuels, your contingency.
Yeah.
Maybe a battery pack. A lot of people have solar. Whatever that fuel contingency is, it's a really big deal when it comes to RVing.
Yeah, and as far as RVing full time, you have to have a backup power system, whether it's generator or solar, guys. Especially if you're going to be off grid, so you have to have that in case of emergency. We've even been in RV parks and resorts that have lost the power for a day, and we just go out to our generators, we fire them up. We use Champion dual fuel generators. We love it. We've had no problem with them. We have actually, that stuff is in our Amazon store. And real quick, while we're thinking about this, you know, when you go to our Amazon store, you don't have to buy the stuff we suggest. As long as you go into our store and do a search, you can buy anything in there, and we'll get a small percentage of that, which helps support the channel and us continuing doing free videos like this.
Yep. All right. And the next one is going to be laundry, which again, either like what, $1,400 on the machine, $1,600 on the machine, which probably would have lasted longer had I known not to put a cup of powder, instead to do 2 teaspoons of liquid detergent and to do much smaller loads.
Yeah.
But right now, if you think about it, each load is about $1.50 to $2 per wash and per dry. So that's $4 a load there. If you really want to get your clothes clean, you don't want to stuff too much in the washer. You don't want to stuff it to the max.
Right. We got the Splendid 2-in-1, right? It washes and dries. And it would take us a couple, 3 hours to do one load. They dry super, super slow. If we were to do it again, we would have a stackable. It's the best way to go. Not a 2-in-1. But we also made mistakes by Mercedes putting a full cup of detergent in this thing when she was supposed to be just doing a teaspoon or a tablespoon, right?
A full cup of powder.
Right.
You're supposed to use liquid.
Right.
So not only was I doing too much, I was doing like the worst kind possible.
Yeah. And so the difference now, Mercedes doesn't mind doing the laundry in a park because she can get it all done in an hour, hour and a half,
Well,
rather than 2 hours, rather than, you know, us running over or doing the laundry in our own RV, but it taking a whole day to do 1 or 2 loads.
Exactly. The next one is going to be dump fees. If you are doing more of a boondocking type experience, a lot of places will charge you to use the dump station. Some places don't. It really depends. And then the last one is storage. This is going to be really more for those full timers. How much do you want to downsize? Because the storage goes up the longer you have the storage.
Yeah, they're rats, guys. They're rats. When we started our storage here 2 years ago in Florida, we got a 10 by 10, and it started out at around $119 a month. That's up to $180 a month now. It's been there a little over 2 years. So we paid close to $5,000 to store about $1,000 worth of stuff. Now, most of the stuff we're storing is personal stuff, right? It's the kids, it's the family,
I mean, not
it's
the
memories.
actual children. But
No, we don't store the kids in there, but you know, just memories, pictures, teeth, just that kind of stuff.
Teeth.
Teeth.
That sounds
I
good.
got all my kids' teeth.
All right. Baby teeth.
Baby
Okay.
teeth, yeah.
So now let's talk about the real life monthly expenses. And this is going to be things like your medical insurance, your life insurance, your credit cards, prescriptions, your clothing, your food. And can I tell you a secret about this one? Whatever you're spending now in this category, it's probably going to be what you continue to spend. If you're that organic only type shopper, you are going to spend just as much on groceries, sometimes more in certain areas. Certain areas do have a higher cost of living, but ultimately these things, you kind of take you with you wherever you go, and you take your expenses with you wherever you go. So this is a big one here. And we just finished some really deep accounting for what we really spent in 2020. And those numbers were totally different compared to what we spent in 2019. So what we're doing in our next video is we're doing a deep dive on our 2-year budget. And we're going to give you our actual numbers in this form, right? And we're going to talk about why the numbers went up and really the places where we could have saved a lot of money.
Yeah.
But this video would be 10 hours long if I went into that here. So that's going to be tomorrow's video or Sunday's video.
Right.
Also, if you did the download, the spreadsheet that goes into the monthly will be emailed to you automatically.
Right. So you should get 2 files, guys.
So we will be updating that. Well, it's already updated. We'll be sending that out along with tomorrow's video that deep dives on that monthly budget.
So you can basically download this spreadsheet, plug in your own numbers, and I bet you this is the best spreadsheet of anybody in the RVing space. Mercedes went to great lengths to be completely thorough now that we've got 2 years experience. And as you guys know, our videos, every video we do is to help somebody else. We trust that everything else that we need will be taken care of, and that's how it's gone for us so far. We don't do sponsorships. We don't have a Patreon channel because we never want to exclude anybody. We are supported through our Amazon page and when you use our links to purchase things.
Hey, Goofy, you're shaking the camera. I love you, little girl. You're the best. God bless you.
So I think we done. Can we start taking questions?
Let's get some questions.
Wow,
All right.
56 minutes. That's pretty good, babe.
For us.
For us, yeah.
I'm really proud of that. All right. So
come here, Chiz. Come over here.
Why don't you sit with Daddy? You
Come over
can't
here.
jump up and down. You're making the whole camera shake.
Come on.
All right. So what kind of grill is good?
We love the Coleman.
But we're considering a Blackstone. It just depends how you like to cook.
Yep.
All right. No more running. No more
I
running.
like fire burnt steaks.
He
Super
likes fire.
high heat. I love fire.
Yep. He's more of a fire
Yeah,
person.
I'm a meat guy.
Next one. Did you look into Starlink yet? I think we did, but you didn't.
We're actually working on something. Again, is the bigger the RV Odd Squad group gets, the more buying power we have together as a group. And so right now we've got. I know. I'm just making a point. Okay. The point is that when we have enough people together that can actually go after some of these larger utility services like Starlink, we will ask them for a bid. But we're going to want to get an idea of how many of us would actually be able to make that decision, to make that purchase. What that'll do is drive the price down for all of us as a group.
All right. How many gigs do you find yourself using each month?
On average, 250 to 300.
Yeah, it's
and we
expensive.
peaked out at 600 gigs one month, which was really expensive.
Yep. Do you recommend keeping a primary home? If you can afford it, yes.
You can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We actually had one RV Odd Squad member jump out for a year. They loved the lifestyle, but then he got sick, and they had sold their home, and he struggled with his insurance on the road traveling. It's one of the reasons we're looking for a health insurance sharing program that's good for RVers. So we're trying to figure out how to put that together again as a group, so the RV Odd Squad, all of us can benefit. But they ended up having to buy another house and sell the RV while he gets treatment for what he's going through. God bless them both.
Yeah. How do you figure out where to start when you're a renter without much to sell? Well, I mean, I think that's kind of an advantage. You have more freedom. I would probably be looking at when the lease expires, trying to tie that into timing. What are you doing for money? Can you do that on the road?
How can you transition from the rental into the RV? Can you park it at the rental place, or do you need to store it at an RV park while you got it set up? But pretty easy for renters to actually make that transition. That's what we did. We sold our home.
Yep.
We moved into a rental, and then we started making the transition. So it was super easy for us.
And just a quick reminder, please put questions in caps, because if I missed a question, it might be because I'm scanning for caps. All right, for park lengths restrictions, is the overall length or is it the living space of the trailer they look at? I wish it was just the living space. It's the overall length.
It's the overall length, and just so you guys know, and it's a risk, but they don't actually take a tape measure out and measure you at these parks. You pull up, you tell them, we're a 41'7". We just tell them we're a 40 foot when we go into parks, and that we've never had a problem with that.
But you don't want to lie too much, because they.
I'm not saying lie.
No, let me finish, because they do have spots designed for different size rigs. So if you're 30 feet and you're like, oh, I'm just a 20, you can get yourself in trouble.
We're 42, but we tell them 40, and we've never had a problem. If I would imagine at the point I was trying to make my love. Is that in state and national parks they may ask you how long your rig is, but they typically we've never seen a measure. We know people that have gotten into national parks with a 30-foot rig.
Yep. All right.
But I keep it under 28.
How many parks prohibit you washing your rig? Actually,
most
a decent amount do not like that. So that's been something that we've kind of learned the hard way. Because you were literally washing your RV, you didn't realize you couldn't, and you had like one side left, and you were like, "Okay, I will
get you some in 1 second." Okay, here, let me finish. You go ahead and do your thing. Answer the questions.
He was almost done washing, but he had just like one area left to wash, and the lady was nice and let him finish.
Ooh, chocolate cookie dough. You want this one?
I think she wants an orange.
You want an orange?
No orange.
All right.
Apple?
No.
Well, you're gonna have to wait till we finish our
This
call.
is what
okay?
it's
And then I'll
really
make
like.
eggs, okay?
All right.
No
Let's see.
eggs.
Yes, I'm gonna make eggs.
All right.
No.
Hey, stop it.
Do you have a video on child safety while driving a Class A? That's a really good topic. We don't have that video at the moment, but I would say that we do have a video on having a child in the RV and like what we needed to do to prepare for that. Let's see, the mouse situation. I'm not talking about the mouse situation because I'm a little upset about the mouse situation,
Well, that's it.
but I think it's going better.
No, you can't have you want these ones?
She's taking advantage of the fact that we're on live to try to negotiate for potato chips. All right, how can my wife and I earn a living if we choose to go full time? This is going to be a really tricky question because it really is going to depend on your skill set, what you're already doing. Is your current job willing to let you work on the road? Ultimately, you either need to have income coming in or you need to have a lot of savings. So this is one of those deals that you have to figure out before you can make the jump. We're not big advocates for people making decisions, it's taking the leap of faith unless they really have a strong plan. You want to have a strong plan. All right. Let's see. How do you wash? Let's see. Oh, should we have the fisherman's platter grilled or grouper for dinner?
Grouper.
Definitely.
Marty just came down and visited with us last weekend, and we took the first 2 days in a row off that we ever have since we left 2 years ago. We're pretty busy.
Yeah.
But we had a blast with Marty. We've actually become really close friends with Marty. He's a good man with a high integrity, and he's really behind the scenes helping all of us benefit as a group for many different things, guys. We're working on some things in the background that aren't about us and aren't about making money for us. We've been taking our profits and putting towards things that the whole group will benefit from. Marty's been helping us with that.
Yeah. All right. Great question. When you travel, how do you watch for tunnels and low bridges? The easiest way is to really stay in those major highways, those interstates that are designed for truckers. If a trucker can drive through, you'll be fine. But once you get on those side roads, you do have to have a lot of you do have to plan, and that's something that is very tricky.
Yeah, and there's lots of different products. Garmin has one where actually we'll give you the bridge height. There's a lot of different apps out there, trucker apps. Look at trucker apps. They'll tell you, they'll warn you, but we think they will overdo it sometimes. So we weren't crazy about the trucker apps. What's the one we really liked? The trucker app that we have right now.
Oh,
Trucker.
Oh, I know.
Here, I'll check.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So
Answer the next question.
all right. Your channel is great. Do you feel it's been worth the struggle and cost of all the internet? Yes, it's totally worth the internet cost. And I would rather struggle a little with internet and get to explore than the alternative. This is a really good question. If you were to start over again, would you have kept your sticks and bricks and rented it out? Yes, we would have done that. Now, mind you, the reason that we sold the house was because, remember, we were on the outs almost, and we were liquidating everything. So our journey was kind of a weird one. But selling the house, it almost helped us make the leap of faith to RV full time. But having a house is definitely something that gives you a little bit more stability, especially with how crazy 2020 was. So I would definitely, if you can, recommend doing that. All right. What's the maximum distance you go on travel days? We don't have a maximum. John did California to Florida in 5 days. So it depends. But granted, that was in a motorhome that was easier to tow than the fifth wheel.
Yep.
So it really depends on the situation and what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. Friendly reminder that I am going through just the caps for the questions. Do you recommend taking your kids out to Campbell? No, don't do that.
Yeah, that was a funny video. What a night that was. I thought I was going to have a heart attack that night.
Yeah. Can't homeschool. How do I have my child go to school full time? You know,
If you can't homeschool, you got a problem.
Yeah, I do think that 2020 in the remote schooling has helped. A lot more districts are more open-minded to that. But it's really going to depend on your individual state.
Yeah, and I think you kind of answered your question, me.
Yeah.
If you can't homeschool, then you can't RV full time.
Yeah, but you can, go seasonal. How difficult is it to get Thousand Trails reservations during high season in Florida?
Impossible.
Or Arizona? It's hard. You better work at it.
That's why you have to buy the big money memberships, the higher level memberships, so that you can book them 6 months out. Right now in Florida, most parks are booked for next winter. Okay, same thing in Arizona, guys. So what the Thousand Trails membership does is it gives you the edge if you buy the membership. And I'll be quite frank with you, and they're not going to like this, but we'll tell you the truth. The zone passes we think are a waste of money this year because almost a waste of money. Because in high season with the zone passes, most of those parks are going to be full, and we don't want you to buy it because we don't want you blocking out those of us who are full time. So it's kind of a thing that they're going to have to figure out. But we do know Thousand Trails has been adding a ton of parks this year.
Oh yeah, because
they're in a buying spree. Encore's buying parks, and they're trying to keep up with the demand because they've got to keep their members happy. And so just
they're working on it.
Have a plan. The days of just moving around and finding a park the night you want to camp is over.
Yep. David, thanks for the insurance referral. We saved hundreds. Had a great experience. Well,
yeah.
I mean, Charlotte's awesome.
Yeah,
we wouldn't recommend them if they weren't.
We have one member, Jerry Minchie, who has been with us for a long time. He saved $1,200 by going over to Marty. So again, our new rvoddsquadinsurance.com, guys, and we're building a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes. We're looking for roadside. We're looking for all kinds of products that we can buy as a group that's going to save us all a bunch of money.
How real is the age limit for rigs in parks? We hear varying stories. We don't have experience with that because we have a newer RV. Yeah. So we have not had a struggle in that.
And
area.
We've never heard of anybody being denied. Yep. And now we've seen videos on this, but we're in an Encore resort right now, one of our favorite resorts in Florida. There's a school bus, and then there's this old bus that was converted, and they don't seem to have a problem. So I think it depends on which park you're going to stay at. And I also think that if you got a really nice looking rig, I don't think you're going to have much of a problem, personally. But if it looks like junk, they're not going to let you in.
Yeah. All right. So firearms is tricky because when you cross state lines, we actually have a video on this, but when you cross state lines, you have to make sure that you are complying with all state lines. Counties have differences.
Yeah. You need to learn how to hide them.
No, you need to learn how to do research and be very strategic where you travel and where you don't travel. All right. The next one, can you RV on Social Security? Yes, and Jerry Minchie actually has a book called RVing on Social Security that we highly recommend.
We just spoke of him. He's the guy that saved $1,200 in his insurance.
All right, RV GPS is the best. That's not quite a question. Keep your questions in caps, please. All right, so how easy is it to make friends and find people with which to caravan? I think that really depends on you. If you struggle with friendships in
where you are,
life,
you're probably going to struggle. Yeah,
but vice versa.
Yeah, you bring you wherever you go. And so we find that RVers are the best. 90% of RVers are the best. We love them. They're fantastic. They're good people. They're always willing to help. And that's why we love the RVing community, right? We see more flags, United States flags, flying in RV parks than anywhere else in America. And so we love that. But again, there's always going to be that 5% of people that, and usually you'll pick them off right away, that aren't friendly.
Quick thank you to Dan.
Hey, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Really appreciate that.
We really appreciate the fact that, we're doing these classes for free. We don't want to ask for anything in return. So we appreciate that. It's not
deeply appreciated.
It's very appreciated. Yeah. And this is a lot of fun. We're creating a community here. We're having some fun.
The best part of our YouTube channel is the people. We love the RV Odd Squad in our community. That's our favorite part.
Yeah. Thank you, truck driver. Okay. Hey guys, questions in caps. I keep doing the caps and they're not questions, but they're pretty cool. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Isaac. God bless you too.
All right. Our most favorite park in South Carolina or in Georgia.
Oh man, we haven't.
South Carolina. We've only been to like the Oaks. And then
there was another one in. We've been to. No, North Carolina. We've been to 3 parks.
I don't feel like we're qualified to answer that in South Carolina, and then in Georgia, we've only been to 1 park too. We're not qualified to answer that. But
we haven't been there enough.
But to be fair, we really did like those states.
Well, we love them. We plan on spending more time eventually.
All right, Andre, we have a whole video on this.
Yeah, go look at our
So-
1,000 Trails video.
We will go into depth, but
They started around $500 and they go all the way up now to around $15,000 or $16,000. It just depends on how much access you want to have and how far you want to book out in front.
Yep.
Again, don't buy these membership guys unless the higher end memberships, unless you full-time RV. And if you do, make sure you book way out in advance.
All right, Magneta RV, I'd like to do a YouTube channel. What do you use for editing? Final Cut Pro. Next, what is the one thing you skimp on? Shirts for John. Definitely shirts for John. Are the state parks in Massachusetts packed already? Yes, they are. I'm sure they are because you poor people only have summer to enjoy.
It's going to be a rough year in the RV camping space, guys.
Yep.
It's going to be a rough year. We've got millions coming in. We've done videos on this. We weren't kidding. Our warning was to make it. Our warnings were to tell those, especially the full timers, to book now, way out in front, because it's going to be really hard to find a space.
All right, we're almost caught up.
All right.
When you first started out,
You just skipped that guy.
because
Oh, it's just a
he's
statement.
talking. Yeah.
Okay.
When you first started out, did you have panic moments regarding money? Of course. Every time we did a step that was a no turning back step, you know, like burning the boats, how explorers would burn the boats because you're not going back home. Every time we did a step that burned the boats, it was very scary.
Yeah, when we first left, the honeymoon, right, it was amazing the first 3 months. Every full-time RV will hit a point where you have the realization that, oh my God, we sold everything. There's no home to go to. This is, home is where we park it now. And it's this, and ultimately it kind of settles down into this, and we love the lifestyle.
What was the gotta take that was first pitched from the rig in the first purge? Probably like fancy clothes for me, because I'm like, oh, we might dress up.
Yeah, you had a lot of clothes. For me, it was tools. It was tools that I hadn't used in the first year. I just gave them to my older sons. And because we had a lot of weight. Guys, remember, when I first set out, I literally brought a power washer on the rig with us so I could power wash our rig.
Well, we still have the power
We still have the power washer.
All right, can you get a warranty on a used RV? I'm struggling to decide. I don't know enough about that. I would probably talk to RV Advisor if you have a question on warranties.
Yep.
We find that you're going to be kind of low on the totem pole. Our experience with our warranty from Camping World, so we don't like warranties.
We don't like warranties.
But if you're going to get it, they're the only people that I would trust to give me good information. John?
Yeah, we're using Champion 3400 dual fuels, and we twin them together when we need 50 amps.
All right. I know you're coming to Iowa. I don't know. I don't know if we'll be in Iowa. In
My daughter
2021.
went to Iowa State. She graduated Iowa State. So, love Iowa.
Yeah. Class C or fifth wheel?
She's a Class C.
And he's a fifth wheel.
I'm a fifth wheel.
Yep.
And but I'll tell you what, guys, driving that Class C 31 footer was a blast. There was nothing we couldn't get into. There was even most places we could park.
We have not been to Tallulah George State Park in Georgia, but we're going to have to.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jane. We really appreciate
Hey,
that.
thank you so much, Jane.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
What was your favorite camping experience?
Hands down, Yosemite.
Yep.
We had, if you guys have followed us, we had a family of birds, stellar blue jays, start building a nest on the back of our rig. We were only supposed to be there 2 weeks. Fish and Wildlife came in and they had eggs, and we couldn't leave for 2 months until those birds flew away. What we thought was a bad experience was one of the coolest experiences we ever had.
Great question, Chris. Hold on a cutie second. Can you get an extended warranty through the manufacturer? Not anymore.
They used to be able to do that, not anymore.
All right, we got 5 more minutes.
But check with the manufacturer.
All right, what is your go-to meal when life gets busy? Takeout.
Sandwich meats.
Yep. Have you been to Mount Hood,
Nope.
Indiana? Nope.
We love Indiana, though.
Is there anything that you purchase that you look out for when purchasing cash versus credit? Not really.
No, just try to lower your debt as much as possible. That's the game. Keep your debt low.
Yep. Let's see. How do I attract those blue jays? You whisper sweet nothings.
Go into
to
the
them.
Sierras. Yeah, and it was actually a kind of a freak occurrence because stellar blue jays, we know more about stellar blue jays than we ever wanted to know. But typically they build their nests high, 30, 60 feet above. And it was really strange that they had built it so low to the ground. And so I don't know how do you attract them except for going to the Sierra Mountains.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. We love them.
Bring a nest kit with you. No, I'm kidding. All right. How do you pay taxes? Which state do you pay taxes to? So we have a video on domicile. So our domicile is Florida. We like Florida because
No state taxes.
yeah, our
On
business
income.
has to, but yeah.
Yeah.
But so it depends. Like where's your driver's license registered? Where do you vote? You know, that's the state that you're going to pay your taxes
Yeah.
to.
And there's 4 or 5 states that are usually
Typically.
good. South Dakota, North Dakota, Florida, Texas, Nevada.
Yeah.
Those are usually the best places that people choose to domicile.
Dennis, this is a really good question, but I don't know what is your RV setup currently. I don't know what you mean by that because that can take on so many meanings.
Yeah, we've
So
got got the 5th wheel right now. We're leaving here on April 1st, but we also still have the Class C that's in storage right now that will be returning to GG soon.
Mhm. Would you consider doing an RV tour in Canada?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
We can't wait to get up into Canada. The problem is that, well, you
Yes.
know what the problem is right now.
But
We
once it
want to
opens-
spend a whole season in Canada.
Mhm.
We also want to do Alaska, but we're thinking we're going to fly into Alaska and then rent an RV up there for that type of experience. And we're looking into flying into Ireland and RVing the island of Ireland.
Update on the rally in Louisiana.
Woohoo! We are so excited about this, you guys.
I would, if you are on the fence, especially if you need one of the cabins,
Yeah,
I
the
would
cabins
not
are
waste.
just about sold out.
Yeah, you want to.
We have, I think, close to 50 people coming, which is phenomenal. We're
Mhm.
super excited. Remember, guys, we're not organizing this. This is organized by
Passport America, Great American Caravan.
Great American Caravans with Passport America. And we're just going to be there to party with you guys. At the Palooza last year, Mercedes and I ran all of that. And so we were busy keeping everybody happy. The Palooza was fantastic. This one, they're taking care of everything. It includes everything. Your meals, excursions. We're going to the swamp boat. We're going to do a river boat. We're
That's
going to,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, every day, all the meals. We're going to go fun places. Super excited about doing that.
If you could choose 3 states, which would be your favorite? You.
Believe it or not, I'd say California, Utah, and California, the beauty, and that's it. Utah and Arizona.
Laundry costs. Why don't you mention the importance of the sniff test? I spend a lot of money on laundry, and I still do the sniff test.
What's up,
okay?
Kratz? What's up, Kratz?
All right, come to the north ever. Not in the winter.
Yeah, no, we hate.
Not in the winter.
We're not
if we can
interested in the
avoid
north
it.
in the winter. You guys know I'm from the Northeast, Boston.
Yep.
And we were hoping to go up there for the centennial Plymouth, the Plymouth Rock. Didn't work out.
So, tow vehicle. How does that work with the 5th wheel? Go.
Where is your tow vehicle, and how does that? Where is your tow? I guess I don't understand the question.
It's a 2018 GMC Denali.
Oh, what
HD.
is our tow vehicle? Yeah, 2018 GMC 3500 Denali dually diesel.
All right. And a lot of people from Massachusetts. I'm sorry that I said not to make eye contact to you guys because you guys are so rough around the edges. but
Boston in the house. Yeah, no.
it's the truth.
The truth is that us Bostonians are just misunderstood. The beautiful thing about us is you don't have to guess what we're thinking. We just
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into that abrasive kind of thing,
I love Bostonians. Best sports town in the world.
and the food's amazing.
Yeah, the food is unbelievable. Every time I go up there, I gain 15 pounds.
So I think we're almost close to
What's
the
this?
end. Don't you find it hard to get around with the huge truck in small towns and parking?
You know, it's funny. I
Yeah.
actually love it. I drive my dually around like it's Mercedes has said this. I drive it like a sports car.
Mhm.
I love driving a dually. I've driven trucks my entire life, and my GMC is hands down my favorite truck I've ever owned. I love it, and it's easy to park. You know, I guess it could intimidate some, but never has me.
Yep. This is a really good question. Have
This
you
one?
thought about starting a website for campsite reviews? Yes, we've really considered that. At this point, we're trying to focus our attention on what will help the RV Odd Squad the most, and I think we can have a lot of impact doing this one avenue that we're working on. But that would be something that we want as part of our community. Like, what do you guys like? What do you guys not like?
Yeah, a lot of other RV YouTubers they try. just so you guys understand, we could have made double or triple what we made last year, right? Agreed? We just did our taxes easily by doing sponsorships and selling out. We don't do that. Our focus in free time is on how to build the RV Odd Squad and help our family members on the road. We consider the RV Odd Squad our family on the road. And we're building some stuff behind the scenes right now. We have been for 6 months that is going to blow your minds. And those who have helped put us where we are, we want to help all those people. And so, yeah, the power of us as a group is you know, there's a lot of power in that. And we've got people all over the country right now that could do reviews and share inside of the group what they think of certain places. Because the truth is, it's really hard to trust reviews, because usually most of the reviews that are left are negative. And the ones that are positive are usually family members or friends of that, you know, the owner. So they're just tricky to believe.
That's a compelling point, that when you're happy, it's hard. People don't always take the time to say this place is great, you know?
Go Bruins.
Okay, so
go Bees.
Interesting question. Are all your classes American only? We will share our experience. We would be ill-suited to talk about, you know, Canada or you know, Australia, New Zealand at this time.
I think she's asking, do we do them only in English, or do you mean? I mean, Mercedes speaks fluent Spanish. Is that what you're asking?
I think she's talking about the USA. I think she's talking about how they're geared towards United States interstates.
Well, I don't. Our classes are available right at this moment all over the world, and they're free.
Yeah.
So we've had people from Australia, people from Ireland, people all over the world watch our videos.
Yep. So let's see. How is Sage doing? We love her. This is probably a good place to.
Sage is So we got about 9 minutes left.
Well, she's hungry, so we should make it quicker than that.
So Sage is absolutely amazing. We're so blessed to have her. She's the greatest gift God's ever given either one of us. She's talking up a storm. The therapy has just been amazing. And she's at an age right now that's just fun. The funniest things are coming out of her.
She's saying
every single day. She come up to us just yesterday and she went, "Oh my God," you know, like that Bostonian accent, like that. "Oh my God."
Yeah.
She had dropped a new ring that she got from an RV Odd Squad member.
Susan,
a lot of you, Susan, we call her Auntie Susan now. We get gifts all the time for Sage in the mail.
This was a plastic ring.
She dropped it down the toilet. She came to us and said, "Oh my God."
Yep. And that ring is staying in the toilet.
We love boondocking reviews, and we're hoping to do a boondocking video with us for 2 weeks out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. That would be a lot of fun. All right. I think she means Class A, B. Oh, it probably asked about what is a motorhome. The motorhome has the engine in it. It's a Class A, Class B, Class C diesel pusher. They are drivable. The towables, you have to get something to drive it around.
To pull it. Yep. And now let's see. Please say, "Park your car in Harvard." I can't because my mother's making supper.
Oh dear. Oh dear. All right. I think we're in good shape.
Done?
If we missed a question,
last chance, last call, guys.
and then tomorrow's video will go deep into the 2 years and.
Oh, that's a
some
good one
areas.
here. Guys, we are having a blast on MeWe. We're done with FB. I don't even want to use their name. We really don't do Insta anymore. It's just too much stuff. And we're building a really cool community on MeWe. Mercedes is going to pop a link in here right now. If you want to join us on MeWe, here's the deal, guys. It's really hard for all of us to get used to a new platform. All of us are kind of used to FB, right? Facebook. I hate saying that name. But MeWe, once you get past the learning curve, is a fantastic platform who doesn't steal your information, who doesn't monitor you, who doesn't do ads, right? We love it so far, and that's the place where Mercedes and I are sharing a lot more about Sage, a lot more about us personally. We feel safe in there, and it's a private community. You will have to ask to join, but we'll approve you as soon as we can. We're having a lot of fun in there. Again, it's going to take you a little while to get used to the new platform, but once you adopt it, I guarantee you're going to love it more than FB.
Mm-hmm. Great question. If you were to buy a place to call.
The generator is important. Really great question. Try to get an inverter generator. There are a lot, less noise. I chose the Champion because it's an inverter generator. You could spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a Yamaha, a Honda. But we believe Champions inverters are hands down the best value. They come in, I believe, at around 39 decibels, which is okay. They make them a little bit less quiet, more quiet than that. But I would never use a construction generator that's not an inverter, especially if you are going to be near other people. It's just kind of rude. I think it's rude.
Yeah, put it right by where the bed is. All right, if you buy a place to call base camp, where would it be?
We're looking at a few places right now.
But I'm thinking like just land, and then we could park the RV on the land.
Yeah,
I don't really want to do sticks and bricks.
Yeah, we're looking for a piece of land right now in a couple places. One of them is southern Colorado, southern Utah, but we want to get a big piece of land that we can actually have 5 or 6 slips, so we can invite RV Odd Squad members over to hang out with us. We really, truly do love this community, guys, and
yep,
you know,
it's a blast. All right,
in the North End. Hey, Anthony! Now, have you tried Mike's Pastries? Oh,
yeah.
My God.
I feel like he's inserting bad words.
Yeah, I know what he's saying. He's a smart ass from Boston. That's
I feel like there's bad words in there.
And Anthony, I think that's a New York thing, isn't it? North End of Boston is Italian, but hey, Anthony, I think it's from New York. Who knows?
I don't know. But it's equally probably funny what they would say. All right, we're good.
Did you post the MeWe?
Yeah,
link?
I already did.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you learned a lot from this. Check out our video tomorrow where we're actually going to share our budget, what it looks like over the first 2 years. We've got to start that right now after we feed Sage. So we love you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.